And that should be the scariest part of the floor, at least I would sure hope so. But I popped around the corner here because I definitely want to be next to enemies before this Earth Mage allows themselves to LRD us. And perfect. Ooh, a distillery. And an Orb of Destruction. I don't think you can make this turn at the very least, so that's good. Recast statue form just to ensure that we have it for the entire fight. Can defeat that Lich the old-fashioned way. Paws to claws. But I will buy a heal wounds potion just to have a surplus of those in our backpack. It's tempting to buy another magic potion too. I think I will. Just to play it slightly safe here. And we'll go back to exploring the level. It's always a tough call when you're worshipping Goze, because so often it's more efficient, as in turn efficient, to use your potion petition rather than chugging 3 different potions over the course of 3 different turns. But it's not always an option. And so it's nice to have all of the consumables at our disposal as well. Resistance to fire and cold, not poison. So I'm going to start OTRing and then definitely still fight with my claws against the Iron Troll, trying to take them out as quickly as possible since mighted Iron Trolls deal a whole lot of damage. Might or haste on those buddies is scary in its own right. But the rest of those go down relatively easily to OTR and Ignite Poison, our favorite combo here. There we can see some of the high swings that are inherent in an evasion-based character here. After having one very solid fight, or multiple very solid fights rather, against Eddens, that one alone was quite a bit scarier. Oh, don't create illusions like that, please, sir. Perfect. Not too bad. Tanger Reavers, as always, very scary just for the sheer variety of elemental damage at their disposal, and its high amounts of damage on top of that. Whoa. What are you doing up here? You're a Zot enemy, friend. Well, let's back up a little bit. Can let all these buddies follow us into the hallway, so we have sight range on a bunch of them, and that will allow us to, of course, deal slightly more damage per turn with our Manifold Assault. Vampire Knights. Slightly scary, but we should be okay against. If you start summoning some bad demons, and if you get that Paralyze off, wait, you have a 12% chance even with 3 pips of willpower, huh? Ouch. I guess nobody here has fire damage, right? They do not. So, and no cold damage, actually, I think. Didn't miss anything, right? Just mostly negative abilities here. So let's take off our cold protection, give ourselves more willpower. I definitely do not want to become paralyzed. And let's try out a Manifold Assault, or 3 here. Oof, I actually don't want to kill these buddies until I can get rid of the backline. Torment is still going to hurt really bad. Again, I'm not happy with the Dread Lich showing up. Immune to poison, very resistant, high AC. Oof. Big oofs all around the board. We could potion up one way or another here, manually or with a petition or 3. If we feel like taking this fight, we're in a slightly poor position in terms of magic. But otherwise, this might be as good as it gets. So let's throw out some acid, trying to just reduce the AC of all these enemies. In fact, we did get the Dread Lich. That's the main one. And so then I feel slightly more comfortable following up with a Manifold Assault. Not dealing quite as much damage as I would like to you, you son of a gun. But one more and we still have enough magic to recast. Statue form when we get there. There's the Torment. Ooh, and the Necromancer is making everyone come back as simulacra rather, after death. think what we'll do here is take a healing potion, or a teleport potion rather, and we tele into the vault. That's unfortunate. Let's try that again, shall we? Try and take out some of these tormentors. Perfect. Okie dokie, that's not going to be a fun fight, regardless of how we come about it. In fact, that might have almost been the ideal situation. But it is what it is. There's only so much we can do to alleviate our concerns, and we do almost definitely want to kill them before we move on. So maybe we'll try and lure out slightly smaller groups here, use the corner to our advantage as well, making sure that we don't have sight lines. Perfect. Notice me? Perfect. Slowly but surely. We'll gain some more experience here, and perfect timing on mentioning Stormform, because I was also about to say, if we can get Stormform up, then that might be a slightly better way to deal with our problems here, just at least in terms of the amount of damage we can output. Stormform scales quite heavily from spell power, unlike most transmutation spells. Because yeah, it wouldn't be just duration, right? It would be the overall amount of damage amplification, and ooh, we also get necromutation in that book. Glork's Vlock's Almanac of Black Magic. That's something that we might not be using right away, and especially not because, or we especially won't because it'll take a bit of training in order to get it online. But in the late game, I'm going to be very happy to have this spell around. So, hopefully we can swing that into an advantageous position where we don't have to worry quite as much about all the torments that will be raining down on our heads. At least statue form gives some partial resistance, but unfortunately, not quite enough. And now it's just you and I, Lich. I think this is where I'm going to manually drink a haste potion. I might have done it slightly early here, but that's okay. And on top of that, is there anything else we'd like to cast? Not cast. Is there anything else we'd like to do before they pop around the corner? Because that will be in just a split moment here. We could might up. Not horrible. We do only have one potion of that, but at the end of the day, we do want to kill this buddy before they manage to get too many summons coming in, especially with a free space next to them. So I will happily drink that. We can always potion petition for our might in the future. And there we go. We've probably left some monsters wandering around the floor. Just scary in its own right. But most of these buddies won't be the end of the world. There wasn't anything quite as scary as that Lich itself. Perfect. Yeah, damage as well as the AC and evasion bonuses. Very cool. Let's see, we only have 2 spell levels right now. So if we want to learn Stormform, which is a level 7 spell, it is a level 7 spell. We need to open up 5 points. Could get rid of Poisonous Vapors. We could get rid of Storm Arrow temporarily. We don't have quite enough spell power in it to make it a truly effective form of damage. We've kind of laid ourselves out in other categories. Alternatively, we could get rid of Mephitic Cloud. Not really using it well anyway. And as we get later and later in the game, it's less effective against a lot of the enemies that we'll run into. Well. Regardless, let's start doing it, shall we? Poison Vapors, you can go. And I think I will actually go with Mephitic Cloud here. Forget that. Let's learn Stormform, at least so we can take a peek at where we stand after casting it. 11 isn't the lowest chance here, especially if we have to recast it in a scary situation, but it might be enough. So we went down in AC a bit, still better than our normal cat self. I think we're sitting at 3 AC normally, so up to 18, 44 evasion. But we will hit hard, and we're no longer slowed as well, which is huge. which means our attack delay is going to be quite fast. At current spell power, it deals less damage than statue form. That is good to know. If we take a look at the spell powers, it's at 43%, statue's at 60%. Still, might be something I want to test out. If we find a fight that's not quite as sketchy, we might try that buddy out. Unfortunately, it does also not give us the health advantage that statue form gives us, which is huge. We'll turn into a bit more of a glass cannon. But it's not the end of the world. And as long as we're able to output enough damage to make up for it, that should be okay. We'll see how it goes. Oops, definitely want statue form before we turn corners. That was a foolish move on my part. Let's lead these buddies back to a hallway and, oh fun, Caustic Strike. Let's head upstairs with this friend. And now I have to think about this. I mean, this is probably the most ideal situation for fighting a Caustic Strike, all things considered. So let's do it. It's going to be sketchy though, each and every time it is. If we take a peek at some of the stats here as well, 33% chance to evade us and about a 39% chance to hit. I also probably should have switched over to some... Oh no, we do have resist corrosion on. Hey! Accidentally making good plays. We should be okay with fighting you, and indeed we are. Normally Caustic Strikes are so scary because of their ability to completely surround you. Let's head upstairs, heal up. 13% spell power storm form would deal more damage. That's interesting. So it probably is now at the point where it deals slightly more damage. Because we did see that it was in, was it the 30s? I already forget. Up to 43%. Unless he means 16 or 13% more than where it currently is, which he definitely might. That is good to know. And in fact, that was probably the situation to test it out on, but for hitting level 22, we do regain our extra life here, so we're back up to having 2 extra lives, which is going to be huge. Let's see. This is a slightly manageable position here. Let's try it out. Storm form. Let's Manifold Assault. It's going to take a few turns, I guess, to let variance sort itself out here. But it does seem like we're dealing a pretty decent amount of damage. Resistances are okay across the board. We at least still get to continue keeping our Lek and our poison immunity, so that's good. What are you? You're just a warrior, not a reaver. That is fine by me then. Let's throw it an OTR since we're getting a bit overwhelmed here, and especially with the high evasion enemies walking up. We'll ignite that poison. Try and take out that Spriggan as soon as possible. Dang, hasted and mighted Iron Troll. Very scary. But okay, that was a half decent test run. I mean, we do have slightly less health than we'd like, and it turns out that we've probably drawn most of our enemies towards us. On that previous floor, that is, the ones that we left wandering around, so that's good to get rid of them. You could come at me, please. I guess the glaive kind of ruins the whole purpose of why I wanted to fight here, but that's okay. Thought it was at 11%? Yeah, no, just the failure rate, fortunately. But what else have we got here? Just the +4 War Axe, +5 Scimitar. Let's definitely throw out some Manifold Assaults while enemies are on the approach. We'll take out the Tentacled Monstrosity instantaneously. Perfect. Eden was just a wee bit scary, but not too bad. Well, his lower AC and higher evasion definitely does. Yeah, quite a bit lower AC, unfortunately. So we might have to more so rely on Storm Form in some of the later sections of the game. Because the fortunate thing about the trade-off there is that armor class becomes less and less effective as the run goes on here. And so later on, when we're dealing with a lot of enemies that that deal damage that is not at all relevant to our armor class in particular, then it might become much more valuable to try and just completely dodge the damage versus reduce it by the tiniest amount. So I can definitely see it becoming stronger later, and especially if we can get that evasion, or that AC rather, slightly higher, we'll be in a good spot in the future. Definitely want to get next to this buddy right away for LRD reasons. Managed to. Caustic Shrike. Ooh, managed to corrode us twice past our resistance. That's always sketchy, but not too bad here. Also picked up an Amulet of Magic regen, which we'll probably just toss back on the ground for now. We'll keep fighting buddies in this little corridor. Let's even use some poison to attack the backline fighters, and ooh, our first gold dragon. Wow, we're getting some weird monster depths here. Just because on depths 2 and 3, we've gotten a decent number of some later Zot enemies, which definitely, I have seen it happen before. By no stretch of the imagination is it impossible. Improbable, maybe, and very not great as well. But we should be able to handle this. Throw out some manifold assaults here. And perfect. Managed to kill the Colt Dragon. Need to be a wee bit cautious of LRDs here, but as long as we're, as usual, adjacent to enemies, should be okay. What do you have? Just a +2 glaive. That's not the end of the world. Do need to take out you, though. And let's lead enemies back into the hallway a bit, if just so we can get that Hell Knight in a slightly better position. Perfect. Oof, that's a lot of damage. Unfortunately, all of these fire giants can just freely shoot through each other because they're so resistant to fire, which is not great for us, to say the least. I mean, we have gone back up to over 6,000 gold is what I was thinking about, and then I immediately distracted myself by remembering that I have this ice ring on right now, which is definitely what we'd like to switch off here as soon as possible. Go back to having just well-rounded resistances. One of these days we'll hopefully just have a nice complement of rings that give us everything we need without having to worry quite so much about the minutiae, as it were. Let's see, we have no fire resistance. Your bolt of fire or your fireball both deal up to 75, which is not great. Probably is a potion petition here. Oops. Automod. Don't hold that. That's a totally innocuous statement. Sometimes Automod is a strange thing, but at max spell power, Storm Form gives 30 AC, 20 evasion, and 82 based unarmed combat damage. Holy moly. Hopefully, we'll see that day come to pass at some point. But, as for now, let's go with a potion petition. We unfortunately don't get a great roll, so this might be a horrifying situation, but I will give myself haste here. And also drink a standard heal wounds potion. Following that up with potentially Ozokupu's refrigeration is what's on my mind here. We'll deal a decent amount of damage to everything on the screen right now. Question just becomes, are we going to want to manually drink anything over the next few turns? I don't think so. Let's also maybe take off this ice ring that immediately puts us up to 1 pip of RF. And we will... I guess we have no just standard resistance to fire, huh? Can't afford that. Still have 1 pip, so we're having the amount of fire damage that we take, which is solid. But could manually drink one more potion. We could also potion petition once again here. I think I will just rely on potion petition over the next little bit. We'll instead throw out some Ozokubus. We have brilliance going, so we can definitely stack on a decent number of them. Once we take out some more of those fire buddies, we can switch over to our manifold assault. Fortunately, the mixture of frost giant and fire giant is unfortunate to say the least. We could go back to our ice ring here and manifold assault. Manifold assault one more time. And once more. I'm hoping to just take out these two enemies is the main thing. Though of course that does leave us open to taking a shot from the fire giant, which is not grand. Alternatively, we could potion petition once more here. Hope for just like a heal wounds with something else cheap tacked onto it. In fact, I think we will just to play it a little bit safe here. We don't get that situation for sure. Curing in magic is close, but unfortunately haste is a very expensive effect. Is it worth the money? We're just about through this fight, but it would be a real shame if we died here. Let's go with the curing and magic. Give us back enough magic points to then throw out another manifold assault. Then I'm going to switch to Ozokubus, trying to take out the fire giant, and that does kill the frost giant as well. Just barely enough damage, I'm sure. We have resistance to cold online at the moment. Take a peek here. Your damage is about the same as our usual amount here that we deal with at these depths, as it were. So we should be able to just throw out a few more manifold assaults and take out the rest of the crowds here. These enemies get distracted a little bit at the very least. We are in a weird maze, and I'm surprised that nothing has snuck up on us from behind. It's almost frightening that it hasn't happened, because I would have expected it to by now. Who knows what's waiting in the wings? Maybe instead wait one turn. Dang it, I shouldn't have said anything. I gave the game some ideas here. But now we can use Ozokubus to hit a few targets at once. Can try and take out the Spriggan before the others approach. Let's also just add on some Toxic Radiance here. Can deal some AoE damage to all of the buddies in front of us here. Perfect. And there we have it. Made it through a bit of a tough fight. Definitely a lot of scary critters. I hope it's not over yet either. As a Titan suddenly appears. Getting some lucky hits on us too. The last time we fought a Titan, we must have gone exceptionally lucky. RN is at least a category that we're doing alright in with the double pip, so we should be able to take on a Shadow Dragon. I would hope at least. Perfect. Let us run back towards the stairs. Dang it. Did notice us. I was hoping we could get through you, friend. The metal splinters strongly reduced by armor, so we have decent armor class, at least with statue form active here. We should be able to fight you. I sure hope so, at least. Perfect. And back on the road here. Definitely leave all identify scrolls lying around. Try and kill the end before they get up to us, even though it is not exactly mana efficient to use Manifold Assault on a single target. Should also get out of sight range of that Zot trap, just in case. And not too bad. This fire resistance issue, or the lack thereof, is going to be a little bit of a pain in our rear for the near future here. Let's drop the Wand of Flame. That's definitely outlived its usefulness. Let us instead fight the old-fashioned way. We can take off our Ice Ring once more as we start to come up against Fire Giant. We're also very lucky that that Zot trap didn't hit us with a truly terrible effect. That's why we do not want to fight in sightline of said trap. My mistake there for sure. But we will switch back to the willpower ring whenever we're exploring new territory here. We do not need a ring of flying. Oops, sorry, yes to ignore that. Yes to ignore that. I should probably just reevaluate and change up some of my auto pickup rules, so I'm not just constantly finding myself doing so manually. But wait until at least after this fight. Ooh, what are you? Interesting. We have 9 digging charges. That's probably worth it in my books. Well, what else? What else? Right, auto pickup rules. That's what we were doing. Let's turn off a lot of these amulets and rings that we no longer need, especially ones that we just already have on hand. Ring of Ice, no. Magical Power, no. Poison Resistance, definitely not. Protection from Cold, we don't need. And RC, we don't need either. Same with Wizardry, we probably will leave by the wayside for now. Next up, Scroll of ID. And I'm sure there are other things that we're forgetting, but that's good enough for me temporarily. Let's get digging. Please be good. Fire Poison, it is a willpower ring, but 1 pip? Strength +4, Dex +2. Not super helpful. Sorry, Cephas Anil. I think I'm going to leave you behind. It's too bad that we used a digging charge to get there, but it is what it is. We do what we must. Even with just the chance at getting some better resistances that are all-encompassing, especially if it was some combination of resistance to fire and resistance to cold, that'd be nice. I'm used to playing melee characters. The past few runs that we've done have been a bit more melee oriented, and of course the beautiful part about that is that you get to wear gold dragon scales, which is absolutely incredible for making sure that you get a well-adjusted, well-rounded complement of resistances. But it is what it is. Magically locked into place. Who is doing that? You can't do that, right? How did I get magically locked into place? It might have been a miscast. In fact, I'm thinking it was, because we did miscast Manifold Assault there at some point. Oh, and liches can fly. Good to know. Very good to know. As long as we don't take too much damage to the cold giant, though, we know we can face an iron dragon now, so that's not quite as scary. At least not as scary as it once was. Come to me, please. Perfect. Thank you. And onwards we go. Oh, hello, Tormentor. Oh, fell into the shaft, so that's going to be waiting for us somewhere on the floor down below. Let's eviscerate everything in sight here. Ooh, some demon spawn showing up as well. This is where we will be using OTR and Ignite Poison in Pan a lot, is when we find huge packs of demon spawn. Oftentimes we're able to take them out with that classic combo. But we'll hopefully be level 27 before we get there. But who's to see? One nice thing about the extra lives mechanic is that even past level 27, you still have the capability to whatchamacallit, to gain or regain lost lives. It just follows a similar experience amount curve as the levels 1 to 27, so you will need more and more experience in order to do so, and you won't get the nice notifications saying that it happened. But it does continue to occur, at least as far as I'm aware. I believe that hasn't been changed. Funny how it says Stone Paws as weapons. I really like those small little flavor touches. I think they're really fun. Stormform is up to 46% power now. So that's not too bad for sure. Take a look at our skills. Guess, wow, we're just training air magic and unarmed right now, hey? Can probably change that. So maybe put spellcasting back on. That'll help to give us more overall magic points, and on top of that, some more magic or spell levels too, which we can hopefully use to expand our repertoire of spells that we have at our disposal. But as for our skills here, what do we wish? We're getting closer and closer to where I would like to have something like Spellforge Servitor available. So maybe take a look at what we can cast. Everything's looking pretty good. Spell power, Stormform and Statue Form still going up. In fact, we might want to turn off Air Magic and we'll switch back to Transmutations and just have it on in the background for the time being here. Bring it up to a nice high level because that's useful across the board. At least for getting Necromutation castable in the late game as well. And on top of that, it's tempting to start training Conjurations, maybe getting closer and closer to being on our way to casting Spellforge Servitor, Lahudib's Crystal Spear as well. Even though we don't actually need to get Lahudib's Crystal Spear castable, we can always just learn it, and as long as we know it, our Spellforge Servitor will throw that out, and that will be good enough in a lot of regards. But for Spellforge Servitor, while we're on that topic, it's Conjurations and Summoning, I believe, right? It is. Neither of which we have at an especially high level right now. So that could be where we decide to move on. For level 9 spells, Chain Lightning, we could go for an air thing. Chain Lightning, Firestorm, and Shatter are 3 damaging level 9 spells, which we'll probably want one of these online by the time we get to the Pans and the Hells. Let's see, this attacks arcs to the creature nearest to us, then outward from it. The further it travels, the less damage it does. Secondary arcs have limited range and do little damage to the caster. Interesting. But it bypasses armor and resistance to electricity, much like it does when Nikola Tesla casts it. 3d42 damage. That's tempting. We could try it out. We haven't found Polar Vortex yet, which was another tempting one in my mind, where we could keep training the ice side of things. But you know, we were just talking earlier today about the fact that I haven't had the opportunity to try out Maxwell's capacitive coupling, and it's already down to 52%. That would be another really solid way of especially dealing with Panlords. And the Hellords as well. With this, we just have to take out all of the little bits and bobs between, and then we should be able to just one-shot smite everything, vaporizing them instantly, as the spell description puts it. Interesting. But yeah, I don't believe we can move while this is charging, and I don't know if we can cast other spells either. I think I've convinced myself. Air Magic, you're sticking around. Let's bring you up to somewhere around 20 as well. And that way we're going to continue to gain some levels or some spell power with Stormform. And on top of that, we'll eventually get Capacitive Coupling and maybe even Chain Lightning online at some point in the future. But let's check again how Stormform is looking. Now we're up to 19 AC and 45 evocations, and we have Storm Fists. It's too bad it's not Storm Paws. I mean, literally unplayable, in my opinion, but I guess the devs can do how they want. But, not too bad. In fact, let's actually wait out before recasting statue form, so we have as much magic as we can while stepping down, and we'll see how it goes. As we level it up, it of course gets harder and harder to replenish our store of extra lives, so hopefully we don't lose any of those in a stupid manner. Ooh, our Ziggurat entrance isn't completely ungettable. In the last while here, I've had some truly unfortunate Ziggurat entrances in the past. There's one that was just absolutely surrounded by shining eyes, that were also graded in, so they were able to mutate you and you couldn't get to them unless you dug through, and even then you'd still have some annoying situations. But another Bazaar is huge. Damn it. I should have remembered to drop my inventory stuff before coming down here. Hopefully there are just things that we can stack or nothing too valuable that we have to leave behind. Okay, haste potions. Some more might potions. We could get a potion of resistance too, just so we can open maybe the treasure trove, or we can use them in the future. I guess statue is still a cat statue, but Stormform has no feline features left. But I wish it did, friend. I wish it did. The Amulet of Tukankab. Interesting. Drain effect, but 3 pips of RC and regen. It's almost tempting to try and pick this up and bring it for future consideration. It's a bit harder to change amulets mid-combat, but by the time we get to the Hells, we'll be dealing with places like Cocytus, I believe is the cold one. I sometimes mix up the names of the different Hell regions, but you definitely want full resistances for that. Interesting. I guess there's nothing else there, right? No, not that I'm too interested in. Another spellbook shop. The Book of Winter. Oh, it does not have Polar Vortex. I was hoping. I was wishing. Blade Hands, we've kind of outpaced here. But Infestation. So if at any point in our 15 rune run, we're in desperate need of consumables, we could resort to doing some Ziggurat changes. And Infestation is very powerful in the Ziggurat. If you're able to use that and deal enough AoE damage, usually with something like Ignition, but you're able to fill the screen not just with AoE damage on your part, but also with a bunch of Death Scarabs that will be fodder for the enemy attacks, as well as do a decent amount of damage overall themselves too. Maxwell will be interrupted if you do any other action rather than waiting. Yeah, I was afraid that that'd be the case, but that's good to know explicitly for sure. Let's buy another summoning scroll. I don't think I need more Ice Blast charges, and that's tempting. I guess the 12 one is only 72 gold. How many do we have? We have 28? Why the heck not? Oh, the kitty is still going? Indeed, they are. Coville 91's cat is never running into any issues. We've only lost one of our lives today, and since then we managed to gain it back, reaching again our total cap of 2 extra lives, so that's awesome. And yeah, we're slowly but surely filling out our complement of spells here too. The only thing that we're slightly lacking in is some truly incredible artifacts. Some really nice resistance rings are desperately needed for the future, but we still have time, and we're doing okay for now at the very least, besides the fact that our vaults... Was it just vaults 2? I would hope it was at least vaults 3. But our vaults are currently kind of locked off due to Menace and Boris having a bit of a tag team duo going on down there. Absolute garbage. No good whatsoever. But I'm tempted to get the lightning rod. We're kind of past the point where it's super useful, but it is undodgeable damage. Lightning is a relatively rare resistance in monsters, and it doesn't cost mana, so it definitely could come in handy in the future. I guess the question becomes, do I have anything that I can just drop right now? Definitely one of these protection from cold rings. We don't need 3 of those, can never use that many rings. Probably don't even need 2, especially with an ice ring that just has better alternative effects, though not always ideal, especially if you really can't stand that vulnerability to fire. That can be super dangerous, but let's do it. Let's drop one more. Oh my gosh, I have 2 tins. Thank you so much, Colgate. It's so funny how I can be so blind to the inventory as I'm looking through. I guess one thing that would help is we actually should probably open up the full inventory tab, and it makes me do a bit more of my due diligence and make sure we're not forgetting something. I mean, Ring of Slain and Ring of Protection, both of those I kind of want to drop. Especially the Ring of Slain, actually. It'd be really nice to get Slain on an artifact, but at this stage in the game, I think we're always going to be in desperate need of resistances of different flavors. I also want to drop Liettes, But I don't really want to drop it in here unless I absolutely have to. So we're okay for now. Let's drop the rest outside of the portal if need be. We'll definitely take that wand here. And Menace always terrifies you. See, yeah, it's a bit of a hit or miss for me. I feel like in one of my recent runs, we were doing quite well. Oops, I meant to describe. We're doing very well. And so we dealt with him easily. That's the words I was going for. Those were the words, rather. But yeah, we had no problem dealing with him, especially with silence. We were just able to, no problem, fight mano y mano, ain't no thing. But we tried to fight with our kitty cat here, and statue form left us at a very inopportune moment, and then it was just a scramble for survival from there. But we'll be back. We'll definitely be back. Drop the chess piece. I know I'm never going to use it, but I couldn't stand it. It's the coolest looking one. I know we could pick up another one from outside. I'm guessing that's what you were suggesting, but I can't. I need the cool bell thimble thing. The one chess piece that's not a chess piece. Though I will drop it if we have too many things that I wish to fill my inventory with. I'll do it for the run, for the cat. But let's buy some more haste potions. I might actually buy the might potions. They're relatively cheap, and the resistance as well. A little bit pricey here, but I think those will pay dividends in the end. Even if I just end up using the resistance potion to enter the treasure trove for funsies, even if it's trash, a weapon trove or something like that, it'll still be a part of the fun. And last but not least, do I want infestation? I guess it's not a necessity, especially since we have a whole lot of pretty sweet spells in our oeuvre as is. And 616 gold, that's a pretty solid potion petition. Hum-de-dum. Let's take a sip of the drink while we think about it, shall we? Well, that didn't help. I'm still as indecisive as ever. I guess here's what we'll do. What else was in you? There's one other spell we didn't know. Animate Dead. Not great. Infestation always sounded like it would be more fun than useful to you, but you never used it. I don't usually use it in the general dungeon, but Vaults 5, and if we end up doing some Ziggurat clearing for extra items, those are the two big things. You need a whole lot of enemies on screen, and then you infest them all, and then you start murdering them with Ignition, or in our case, it would probably actually be Manifold Assault. And that way you are summoning, as you're killing enemies, you're summoning a veritable army of fodder to keep yourself safe and deal that extra damage, which is a pretty solid combo. But it's not strictly necessary, so I probably will leave it. 616 gold is enough to save us from an emergency situation in the future. Ooh, there's an extra shop? 5 shops? You spoil me, game, even if this one is useless. I will buy a Scroll of Silence. I'll buy the teleports just so that we have a plethora of those. And what about Torment? I guess Torment's relatively cheap. Once we have Necromutation online, if that does end up being the case, which it probably will for the later parts of the run, that just becomes a way to half the health of all the living enemies around us. The one issue there, of course, is that oftentimes when we will have Necromutation casted on ourselves, it will be paired with a situation in which Torment won't affect our enemies, because usually we're doing so in order to avoid the torment of the undead enemies around us. But why not? 5 shops? How? Bazaar! I see what you did there. Absolutely fantastic. That's my kind of joke. You know me so well. But okay, I think that's it for me. I guess we can find... Oh, not shop. Find gold. And all the top items on this list will be within the bazaar. In fact, probably everything until there. Yeah, actually, it says it right there. It says it right there, man. So dumb sometimes. Don't know how all of you stand me. But okie dokie. I I think we are fairly happy with our haul here. Could even bring some of this trash out with us if we wanted to, but I think we'll be good.